What's going on, YouTube? Thanks for tuning into the channel. It's your boy Devin Coates. So I'm gonna put up a book review, a book that I listened to this week while I was um, driving to work. And I just went through the whole thing. I liked it a lot. It's the Ask Gary Vee book by Gary Vaynerchuk, and I really liked what he had to say. I mean, as a book, it's hard. This review is gonna be I just kind of taken his main points, but basically he just took a lot of questions from people from on the show, and I excuse me. And I guess from things he's heard in some of his Q&A, he gives like a brief intro in the beginning, and then from that point on, it's just straight Q&A. So the questions range on a variety of topics, but I'll kind of just touch on the main points that it seemed like were themes, and then yeah, I'll finish out on the review and have you check it out for yourself. So really, his first big thing he always talks about is like the clouds versus the dirt. That seemed like it was like a big metaphor he likes to use, and he lives his life by this and uses this analogy to explain a lot of the things you do. And he's basically kind of saying you have to like spend some of your time in the clouds and a lot of your time in the dirt, and you can't just do one or the other, but you need both. So what are the clouds? The clouds are like the big money idea. So for him, the clouds are that he wants to own the New York Jets. That's a cloud idea. That's not something that's going to be attained now. It takes very big, lofty thinking. What are the dirts? What's the dirt? Answering your email at 3 in the morning, or doing the day-to-day, daily grind activities. And really, what he's saying here, and this is a big thing, is that one, you need a vision, because if you're in the dirt all the time, always doing the grind activities, which is great, builds a great work ethic. And for me, I think that's the most important and really the foundation is the dirt. And I'm pretty sure he would agree. But so dirt and the work ethic and the daily grind and doing the day to day tasks and doing that grunt work. And then there's the clouds where it's like the vision, the direction, the future, the 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years down the road, plan the legacy is the clouds. And you really need to keep a balance of both. And he asks a multitude of questions, and it's really impossible to give a review on all the kinds of questions he asks because there's so many. But and I one and a little sidebar, I really like the audiobook. I didn't read the book, but I could tell, and he mentions it multiple times, that he's riffing off on the audiobook. He's giving different answers than were printed in the book, in the audiobook. So that's cool too. But basically, you need both. You need to have that vision. You need to have that plan and where you're really going and what's getting you up in the morning and what's really driving you. But then you can't be too big and too fancy and too elite to do the day to day grunt work and really put in that hard grind and effort in the beginning. So that was a huge metaphor. I think it's very, very important. It's the clouds versus the dirt, and you need to be occupied in both. And if you can't do both, you need somebody to do the other one that you can't do, because you need a direction, and then you need somebody to put in the actual work to make it happen. So the next big thing, and obviously a lot of people will know this. I mean, he's a huge social media guy, so he really talks about the power of social media and really just having a presence in social media. And no matter what your demographic is, if you're 80 years old, there's a demographic for you on social media. If you're 18 years old, there's a demographic for you on social media. You might use different social media because your demographic, because your product or whatever you're trying to display, and but you need to have a presence. And one of the things he really said that really stuck out to me on this at this point is that um, if you think about when you meet anybody before, or if you're about to be introduced to somebody, or even if you do meet them, the first thing you're going to do when you get home is you're going to look them up on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it happens to be is the demographic that you're working with. But you're going to look for them on social media, and you're going to look for their presence and who they are, and really having a presence there is very important, and making sure it's up to date and reflecting the image you want to reflect, because that's where people are gonna make their first impressions of you, and you're not even gonna be there. So Having a strong social media base is very important. Having a great presence. Then he goes into different tactics, and I think that his other book, Jab Jab Jab, Right Hook, which I'll probably read because I definitely need help on my social media game. He kind of talks about it as being like a textbook of the techniques to use. He goes into certain techniques and certain things you can do in specific questions that were asked. But the big thing I took out of it is that you need a social media presence. It needs to be strategic. You need to know what demographics you're targeting after, and you have to make it represent what you want to represent. And another thing he talks about is being the expert in the space that you're working in. And that's something I've heard, but he puts it in very blunt and tangible, actionable types of ideas that make a lot of sense, and even towards the way I'm going to move this YouTube channel and my other social media and trying to connect them, because I still haven't really perfected the way I wanted to do that. He gives a lot of insight, and plus he gives a lot of theories on which ones are going to be here and not be here in the future. And honestly, he's right a lot, so that was cool too. So that's pretty much that second point with having a presence, social media, and really targeting your demographic with it, and not feeling like, well, my demographic just doesn't do this. And he pretty much he breaks that down, that like everybody. It seemed like a lot of questions were coming up like this. Everybody wanted to make an excuse why the thing they're doing, there's somehow kind of barrier to why they can't do it. Well, is it going to work with this? Is that going to work with this? And I love the way he just shuts that down. Like he really shuts that kind of stuff down. And then the next thing that I really liked that he did was he kept talking about this. He has another book called The Thank You Economy. Now, this is honestly the first book I've ever consumed by him. So I know the titles, I've heard them before, but he calls it the 5149 principle. And it's like that in selling and in business, you always want to give 51%, or any interaction, because I actually think this can go to anything. And I think he believes that too, that you want to always give a little bit more than you're taking. And then when you do ask for the money, it's not like they feel like they've gotten a better deal because you've always give one. So he's always saying give 51% and take 49%. And I think that's a very important thing to just have in life, that like you're not a taker, you're not a mooch. And then when people work with you and people help you out, they feel they want to reciprocate. They feel inclined because you've always been servicing them. You've always been helping them out. And he calls that the thank you economy. That like that's really the new wave of economics, is that it's going to be really predicated upon the fact your engagement with your fan base, your customer base, and really you giving them more than they give you. And his example would be the Ask Gary Vee show. He had that show was completely free. You watch it on YouTube. I watch it on YouTube all the time. He puts out his Snapchats. I don't necessarily follow him, but I see it on his Ask Gary Vee. He's always doing Snapchats. He's always doing all these other things. He's always giving content, giving value out. And he's never really asking for anything in return. So that's really an important skill and important philosophy to have. And that's really where he gets a lot of his success, is because he doesn't have to feel bad when he asks for you to buy the book, because he already knows he's giving you more value than just a book. It's not like you feel like you've gotten more than your whatever. I don't remember how much I paid because mine was off Audible subscription, but like your whatever $20 or whatever for the book. So that's pretty much the Ask Gary Vee. Really liked it. Very insightful, especially when it comes to social media and marketing and entrepreneurship. Great insights on that. So I'll just recap the points. So cloud versus dirt, having a vision, and then having that daily grind, hustle, work ethic. You need both to succeed. If you can't do both, you need to get somebody that can do the other one that you can't do. Number two is the power of social media and having a presence, and regardless of the demographic you're in, whether it be an age, sex, race, religion kind of demographic, every demographic can be found on social media. People will always look you up on social media, and they will make impressions based on what they find on social media for who you are. And I forgot the guy's name. You can see he was hitting the gas mask with the bong, and you see how like that blew up with him in the draft. If anybody watches football. Then the last one is the 5149 principle. It's not all about you. You need to give if you want to receive. Always give more than you can receive back. And when you do that, people will not feel bad to give to you and help you out because you're providing so much value for them. So that's pretty much it for this book review. It's the Ask Gary V book. I think it's called like One Entrepreneur's Take on like success or something like that. But great book, very insightful. Anybody that's interested in social media, entrepreneurship, and marketing alike, great book. And I think he has some great stuff. I'm definitely going to consume some of his other stuff, especially Jab, 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 Right Hook. I think that's going to be pretty good for me just because my social media game sometimes is a little weak. But if you like the content, please click the subscribe button. Please click the like button. Leave some comments below. As always, peace until next time. Appreciate all the love. See ya.